Hey everyone, it's Ashley, aka The Flaming Geek. It was recently recommended by one of my friends that I start just a mini online video show just on YouTube, simply because I am very expressive of my geek opinions at the workplace and all around. Being a geek's my life, so I decided to start off this week doing this show, and hopefully I will be uploading something on a weekly basis. So, enough about me, let's get down to business. Let's get to the nitty gritty. So, on Monday, the newest Star Wars The Force Awakens trailer just dropped. Trailer number 3, exactly. And the internet's going a little crazy over it. I recently watched it too, and keep in mind, this is expressively my opinion of the trailer. People can comment on it, people can hate me on it for my opinion, but I am perfectly fine with that. First of all, from watching the trailer, I didn't really have the biggest reaction over it. I know some people were freaking out because they're really excited for this film. Don't get me wrong, I am excited. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I have a Star Wars marathon twice out of the year, although I don't watch the prequels, actually. I usually just watch the original trilogy because, let's face it, prequels, not that good. I watched the trailer, and here's my opinion of it. I was kind of like, eh. It didn't have its big, as large an effect as the second trailer or even the first one, because the first trailer was there to get us excited. It was sort of before then, like with Disney purchasing the rights for Star Wars from George Lucas and stuff, and with talks of there being like a rebirth of the franchise, it was sort of surreal, I think, in many people's minds, but them dropping that trailer back in November, like a year and 1 month before the film released, it was a big deal. The second trailer, I found the second trailer a lot more emotional, actually, than this most recent one, because the second trailer, you get a taste of, just a little bit more of a taste of what's gonna happen. You get to see a little bit more of John Boyega and Daisy Ridley, and a little bit more of like this new order after the fall of the Empire at the end of Return of the Jedi. And it was so emotional to me personally, because if you think about it, all the Star Wars films, it's essentially the journey of Luke, excluding the prequels, although the prequels are what creates the environment for the original trilogy. But really what speaks to heart is, when I say Star Wars, I think of Luke, because Luke's journey was so heartfelt. He goes from being nowhere in the middle of Tatooine to being part of the rebels who take down the Empire. And Luke is such an amazing character. His journey and him moving on, losing so much to become this Jedi master at the end. It's amazing. So it was a little heartfelt to hear him say, "Force is strong in my family," like he says in the last movie. The third trailer, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really have that big of a reaction, because I guess there was a little bit, it wasn't so much of like a reflection of the previous films, which is fine, because at this point we know a little bit more about Daisy Ridley's character Rey. She's a scavenger on the desert planet of Jakku, and you get to see a little bit more of Flynn and the fact that he is a stormtrooper in the New Order and stuff. So the trailer gives a sense that he recently left. Flynn says, "I was raised to do one thing, but I've got nothing to fight for." So gives a sense that he is a former stormtrooper. That's sort of what they're telling us. Honestly, I found the first half of the trailer kind of boring. Just because we're not we're not as attached to these characters yet. It's still kind of a mystery of what's going on, and so it's kind of like, can these actors portray these characters enough, and can we fall in love with the story enough that we're willing to follow them through a journey through 3 films. Another thing I found really interesting is there were no droids. If you think about it, it's almost, in a sense, kind of their story too. We know that Anthony Daniels and Kenny Baker are both returning for the role, so I was looking forward to seeing that, because you get to be with the droids throughout the entire series. They're there from the original trilogy to the new trilogy, and they're even in the Clone Wars cartoon series, which is amazing. If you haven't seen Clone Wars, go ahead and watch it, because it redeems Anakin, because the animated Anakin, his journey is so way better, like, in its portrayal in between Clone Wars the movie and Attack of the Clones and Return of the Sith. It actually, like, fills that gap in pretty well. Like, if they could do, like, an animation of the prequels and exclude Jar Jar and everything bad and Hayden Christensen and just shitty, crappy writing, that would be amazing. Yeah, we don't get to see any droids. But what's really neat is, now it's total speculation, is Flynn a Jedi? I think personally that he might either happen to be carrying a Jedi weapon. I don't know how he would have come across it. It might have been, like, seen in the second trailer. You see Rey receive this lightsaber, so he could be holding on to it for her, or he's being trained by Luke. And that's another thing we didn't see in this trailer. Where is Luke? We had amazing shots of Han, Chewie, and Leia, and it seems like Han is going to be leading the new main characters throughout this journey. Another really sad thing about the trailer is, like, I had in my mind at the end of the Battle of Endor that the Jedi were going to be sort of, like, returning, because the whole point of the prequels was you didn't really get to see it, but, like, in the original trilogy, you hear from Yoda and Obi-Wan that Jedis were an amazing group of warriors and fighters, but I don't think the prequels really redeemed that, because all we saw was freaking council meetings. But just to hear them, like, ask if, like, it was real, and Han having to say the dark side of the Force, the Jedi, all of it's real. So it's like 32 years later, and what is going on? Where's Luke? Like, I was expecting him to be, like, training or something. So I don't know. We don't know yet what's gonna happen. But let me just say this. I'm excited for trailer 4 to come out, because we'll get to see a little bit more. And hopefully Luke will be in there. But at the same time, Luke being excluded from these trailers kind of makes me more excited. Because you know what? It might be like the big lead up. We get to see Luke in the film, or maybe in the last trailer that gets released in end of November, early December, before the film drops. So, also looking online and stuff and talking to some of my friends, there's a lot of people speculating that Kylo Ren and Rey are actually siblings, because in the extended universe, Han and Leia have 2 kids, 2 children, and one of them turns to the dark side. But Disney did say that extended universe is no longer canon. Shame on them. But still, that would be interesting to see how that would happen. But I kind of wish that doesn't happen, because we sort of had, like, I don't know. I just want it to be something separate. Another thing that was really neat, there's going to be space battles. I don't know how many space battles there are going to be, but the interesting thing was none of them were actually taking place in space. A lot of them were taking place within the atmosphere, and that would be it's going to be really neat to see that, because they can actually utilize the technology. And what's really cool, too, is we get to see some practical effects on it, which is one thing I like about J.J. Abrams, even though I think Star Trek Into Darkness ruined Star Trek, but that's for another day. Practical effects, because that was something that was fantastic and amazing and technologically advanced that the original film showed. the original films had, using models for space battles and stuff. It had a real feel, whereas the prequels, there was so much CGI, like CGI for the sets and everything, and I'm a believer in using CGI, but if you combine it with practical effects, like, actually give us a sense of realism, which hopefully this film has that. So we got to see more action of the Millennium Falcon, better choreographed, and that made it more interesting. Not that the lightsaber battles of the original series weren't interesting, it was just nicer to see, like, all those flips and use of the Force. And I also hope that this film has more use of the Force, because in the video games and in Clone Wars, you see a lot more of, and even in the books, use of the Force, like Force Crush and such. And that was one thing that the original films were lacking. I understand that might not have been really written into the mythology at the time, but I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. I'm looking forward to seeing how amazing the Jedi are. I'm looking forward to seeing Luke. I'm looking forward to seeing the original cast, and I'm very excited for it. But at the same time, I'm trying to keep my expectations super low at the moment, because I want to be blown away when I see this movie. I don't want to be disappointed like I was for Star Trek Into Darkness. Okay, another story. Can you tell? I'm not happy about that movie. Yes, so if you guys have any opinions on it, just let me know. Yeah, if anyone has any opinions about, feel free to write that in the comment section. And I'll try to be uploading more videos in the future. Maybe once a week. Possibly on a Wednesday or Thursday. We'll see. So from Flaming Geek to Geek You, live long and prosper, you guys. Bye!